Today we have the infamous problem with the Volkswagen cars where the head unit, being an aftermarket unit, Pioneer in this case, it stays on even though the battery, the key is off the ignition. Now, the problem with this is it's gonna work. It will drain your battery. Now, the only problem why this stays on is because the factory radio, if I'm not mistaken, it has a built-in software that communicates with the radio, well, the car itself, and it shuts off as soon as the key is off the ignition. And that I have noticed. This actually was a present to the owner of this car where he wants, of course, to use his radio without draining his battery. And of course, we use an aftermarket harness here, aftermarket for the antenna that just came off, aftermarket harness for the wiring. Of course, we had the power and the lights here, and we had the speakers on the other side of the harness. And then we have 3 black ones here that are not used for anything. Other than that, the unit stays on, and we're going to work this out. Now, for some reason, this electrical outlet in the cigarette lighter stays on as well if it detects something in there. So I'm not going to jump it off of there. So we need to actually find a switch ignition, or a switch, a circuit that is actually dependent on the ignition. So we're going to, of course, use a wire. We're going to disable this or not use it. We're going to cut it off, tape it. We're going to use this wire to actually tap into it or solder it. We're going to run it all the way to the bottom of the steering wheel, and you do have to take off some panels. This is the one for the left hand side here. The one right hand side, this one is for the left hand side. You do have a panel here, and then you have the fuse box that came off as soon as I pulled this off. So be mindful of that. Before you go ahead and start pulling and tearing, understand that you're being held by this type of fasteners. And I'll get you the type of T that we need. Here we go. We need a T20 to undo this bolt. So make sure you have a T20 to actually remove these fasteners. The type of wire I'm using on this case is a braided 14 gauge. And we're going to go ahead and see where we can tap this cable to. Here's my tool. This car needs a serious cleaning. Alright. Alright, this is the wire for the microphone. Hopefully you guys can see. But if you can't, this one right here on the left hand side is a switched ignition. These others I am not sure. However, just by looking at the serious gauge of the wiring, I'm going to think that it's going to share or put together some serious amperage out, and you're going to blow something out. So if I'm not mistaken, I actually got some I believe a 10 amp out of this guy right here when I did the test. And basically just get a multimeter and test it out. So we're going to tap into it, run it, then test it, and I'll show you guys. Alright, I know it looks like a mess, but just trying to show you guys what I have here. So I have a power probe. It's actually tap into the ground to the harness. I'm gonna go down here. I'm gonna bring my cell phone so I can put a light down there and show you guys. Alright, so the point that I'm trying to show you guys is what is and what isn't switched. And remember, the key is off the ignition, and hopefully you guys can see. Okay, it's dead. We have power, 12 volts, 12 volts, 12. This one is switched. Alright, let's see if the ones that were completely dead are part of the switch. I believe the first one and the last one did not show up. We have 11. And this one, oh, it's completely dead. So, we're going to tap off this one and run the wire all the way to the radio. Alright guys, this is the final product work result on this Volkswagen. And apparently this can apply to many vehicles. I don't know if Volkswagen continues to do this type of setup with their radios coming out of their factory, but it's off, and we need to unlock this car first. And the radio, as you can see, turns on. No problem. Very good. One thing that I'm going to tell you is I did actually blow up a fuse. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I did blow up a fuse. Something actually made contact with the wires behind it while I was testing it. I believe it was a power line. I touched a ground chassis, and it shorted out. It blew a fuse over here on the left hand side. The fuse that blew up on me is a 20 amp white beige see-through fuse. So that is the fuse that blew up on me. So I replaced it. I used the radio for after that, like for about an hour, and the radio held up fine, and it sounds pretty good. Compared to factory, it's a great improvement. But just to let you know, guys, do not feel discouraged if this is actually your particular situation with an aftermarket radio and a Volkswagen or Audi. This actually is a good indication of what to do, not to do, and options. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, sharing your time with my time. And of course, thanks for stopping by. You know, I'll continue to put up more videos here for projects, videos, and so on. So, feel free to ask questions. This is a family vehicle, so I'm sure that many other videos will come out of this car or similar to it. So, thank you for tuning in, guys. Until next time.